Hey guys, Matt here, and today I am back for day number 15 of r/RegularRevenge, where today I'm going down the karma route of regular revenge. So I have 5 stories lined up, because I did make a quick glance over them, and they're all really fairly short, so I figured let's try and do as many as we can in about 20 minutes or so. Okay, we'll start right in the middle. Don't poke me in the eye. When I was quite young, about 5 or 6, my parents took me skiing in Fredbo for a week. To get up to the slopes, you need to go up a small series of stairs, so about halfway at the top of the stairs, I briefly stopped whilst my parents were ahead of me and sat down to check my little booties. I must have been sitting down for a minute when this little shit brick comes up to me with any provocation and pokes me in my fucking eyeball. I can remember just putting my little chubby hands up to my eye and just sitting there with shock that this little swine of child would do such a thing. Then all of a sudden I hear his mother going apeshit at her devil child son, and instead of her giving him the stand say sorry or whack across the head, she reaches into her bag and handed me the little fucking Skittles and looked at the kid and said, "You get none," as she dragged the bawling little dickhead down the stairs. I then shared the delicious Jester Skittles with my cousins. Sweet karma is a bitch even when you're very young. It's just like, I got you in the eye. Why the hell would you poke someone in the eye? I don't get why people would do that. It's just like, fuck my eye. Oh well. I got Skittles out of getting poked in the eye. Okay, next story. Abuse my boyfriend throughout his childhood. Enjoy being a cripple for the rest of your life. Oh, yikes. I know this is a karma post versus a revenge post, as per the very first rule of the sub. Karma posts are in fact allowed. Yeah. First rule. All stories must have a form of revenge or karma. So this is a story about my wonderful boyfriend and his sack of shit stepdad. Going into this, you have to realize that my boyfriend is a very kind person, like his mum. Even when he has every reason to be upset or malicious, he always tries to be positive about the situation and let matters sort themselves out. He firmly believes that karma will take care of those who wrong him, and considering what happened to his stepdad and childhood bully, I can see why he feels that way. Anyways, my boyfriend's biological dad was in the military overseas for a big chunk of his childhood, so he lived with his mum and her new husband. I love how we're just going, was a colossal shit stain to both my boyfriend and his mum. Besides the constant cheating, animal abuse, and cigarette smoking indoors, he would physically and verbally abuse my boyfriend. My boyfriend was overweight and bullied at school already, but took it to a whole new level. Let's see it rip! For example, when my boyfriend was standing at the bottom of a staircase, thought it would be funny to jump from the top of the stairs and kick 8-year-old boyfriend in the chest. Another time, he punched boyfriend in the face for dropping a hot plate of food. It was to the point that my boyfriend would noticeably flinch whenever would pass him, something boyfriend's biological dad would eventually notice. Was a mechanic, so he was considerably strong. He felt no need to ever pull his punches against my boyfriend though. Would berate my boyfriend into tears, telling him that he was worthless, and keep him up all night from screaming at his wife. Boyfriend says he remembers crying to himself to sleep on his birthday because he hated how miserable everything was. Oh, yikes. This is a story for the ages, I guess. Eventually, though, when my boyfriend was around 12, his biological father was stationed in the US and knew he'd be here for a significant amount of time. He asked if my boyfriend wanted to come stay with him for a while, and my boyfriend jumped on it. His dad then proceeded to help him totally transform himself. He lost all his weight and got involved with sports. His grades went from C's to A's. That's a good dad right there. Getting your son's grades from C to an A. Just nice. He became much more confident in himself and started making real friends. The home life was a total 182. His stepmom and dad never argued in front of him, never put their hands on him, never yelled or berated him, etc. Things were turning around. After a year of this, my boyfriend decided he wanted to go back to his mum's for a year because he missed her and his sister. At this point, he's 6 foot, athletic, 215 pounds, a completely different person from the scared, obese kid who left. But he wasn't the only one who had changed in a year. I was a terrible driver. He liked to speed, would drive with no hands so he could drink or light a cigarette, and was just overall reckless. Boyfriend used to be terrified driving anywhere with him. It ended up being ours downfall though. While drunk and speeding in the country somewhere, he missed a sharp turn and flew off the road down the side of a steep hill. He was completely trapped in the car, and it took 4 hours before anyone even found him. Bruh. I survived, but he completely shattered his back. Oh no, I have a friend that did that too. Like, he broke his own back. Oh. He has something like 5 or 6 rods holding his shit together. On top of this, which was already devastating to his body, a few months later, he got drunk and got into another horrific accident that cemented his perma-crippled status. This dude literally bent over at a 90-degree angle. Is he bending over at the hips, or is he bent at the back? And which way is he bent? I shouldn't be making those jokes. He can't straighten his back at all anymore. He's one misstep away from just paralyzing himself. When my boyfriend came home and saw this, he just felt relief and vindication. Arsenal tries to act like he's a hard-ass from time to time, but he literally comes up to my boyfriend's adamant at best. It's fucking comical. Has never apologized for the way he treated my boyfriend, and even tried to brag about it to me once. That's a different story. But my boyfriend says that it's okay. His childhood monster has been reduced to a hobbling gremlin, and he's living a fulfilling, interesting life now. TLDR, stepdad who used to abuse my beast boyfriend as a child gets into 2 horrific car accidents that leave him crippled in the worst way. While my boyfriend, with the help of his biological dad, gets in shape, turns his life around, and becomes a successful young man. First, mega props to the biological dad for actually turning his son's life around in the best way possible. The other point I want to say is, you should be driving with both hands on the wheel, unless you're Bunta from Initial D, where you can literally drift a corner while also pulling out a cigarette to have a smoke. I do not kid, that is an actual thing that happens in Initial D. Teaching a property officer in a bank a lesson in humility. This happened back in 2012. One of my co-workers fell in love with a ginormous house. 7,000 square feet, and 7 bathrooms, and 7 bedrooms. 2 full kitchens, sitting on 2 acres, and the backside butted up against federal land, which means it could never, ever be built on. So its view can never be compromised. That sounds like a good house. Especially if you have a beach view. In 2008, this property was carried on the tax rolls for a bit shy of $1 million, like $980K. Then the economy went into a tailspin. The builder, a residential construction company owner, found himself overextended. With the acute slowdown in home building, he could not meet the note on the property, so the bank ended up with it. Fast forward 4 years. The bank had been marketing it the whole time and found no takers. So by 2012, it was a make an offer. So my co-worker went to the bank with an offer of $325K, contingent on him selling his current home. The bank's property officer literally laughed in his face, told him it was worth at least $600K, and not a penny less. That the bank would rather let it crumble into dust before accepting his $325K offer. Yep. Without going into a lot of detail here, it turns out that events happened about this time. The bank found itself having to move over 200 homes and businesses within 60 days because they suddenly needed some cash. If you're thinking fraud and embezzlement, you'd be correct. Oh, jeez. So they hired a company to auction off the properties in our state capital, which was a bit odd as it is 250 miles away. But I guess they rolled it into another auction they'd already scheduled. It was a no reserve price auction. You could start the bid with $1. So he and I went up there. We knew his house was up for auction, and he lined up his financing from another bank, by the way. Why give them any interest if this works? Sure enough, it came up, and there were only 2 people bidding on it. And the second guy dropped out at $295.5K. So my buddy bought it for $295.5K. Oh wait. Okay, so the second guy dropped out at $295K. OP's friend bought it for $295.5K. I need to work on my reading. Sweet, the property officer was there watching all this. The look on his face was priceless. When it was all said and done, my friend sent a nice letter and a fruit basket to the bank's executive board, thanking them for the $30,000 reduction in price that they'd given him. Because he just sold it a couple of months ago, because he's now he's an empty nester. Got $475K for it. So he made $180K for living in it 5 years. Thank you, bank. That is going to go unnamed forever and ever. Okay. Next story. Forwarding a shared mailbox to your home? Get reported for mail fraud. Alright, so this didn't happen to me, but to my mum. Or rather, it happened in her workplace. My mum works for a well-known insurance company, and because of investigations, I didn't want to share until a few months passed. Anyways, a lady who's basically a Karen, but off-brand, who'll be called Karen to hide her name. How could you be off-brand from Karen? Is known to cause issues. She would complain about everyone, nag people, not do her work, and everyone at her workplace hates her. Some examples are not going to work in the slightest of bad weather, so she wouldn't get hurt after a surgery she had like a year ago. Yet refuses to go on disability, seemingly because it's not as bad as she claims. She'd be late a lot, would mess up, and make excuses to do her own thing. Here's where it gets interesting. The boss has enough, and she gets fired. 4 days later, the boss realizes that he hasn't been getting any mail after the woman calls him to ask if he had her mail in his business PO box. That he let her get mail because she was a high manager and would collect the mail for him. Well, it turns out that the lady went to the PO box after being fired, forwarded it to her address, checking the box that says, "Is this a business address?" and delivering all of his important business mail from clients and other things needed ASAP when they arrive. The boss goes straight to the police department to file a report for mail fraud, which is a felony in the USA, where this story takes place, and has a punishment of up to 30 years in prison, a $1 million fine, or both. 1 million! I don't know the specifics of what happened after that, but it's safe to say that the government doesn't like you abusing government services. Oh! $1 million! Oh, you rude, dumb bitch! Oh my gosh. Let's just move on. Last story. So you damaged your brother's car because it was nicer than yours. Have fun being a long-time pedestrian. Back in the day, my dad owned an auto repair shop, mostly specialized in custom tints, stereos, wheels, and tires. One day, a 17-year-old kid pulls up with a Series 7 Chevy Cobalt SS. New at the time, was also the fastest compact at the time, 260 horsepower factory, and asked my dad if he can fit the car with some 18-inch custom wheels and tint. A week later, the kid comes with his parents and they pay his tab and kid leaves. About a month later, the kid comes back to get the windows retinted. My dad, confused, asked what happened because the tints were top of the line and didn't come off easily. The kid said a week later, after the tints, someone smashed all his windows and used sandpaper on the chrome wheels. Kid did a good job cleaning the wheels back up, but the scratches were permanent. What the actual? Why? 2 months go by and the kid comes back, this time with 3 big ass dents from a cinder block being thrown at. Oh. I'm not a car person, but it literally is hurting me seeing these, just hearing these things of the dents and all that. My dad at that point asked him what the deal was, and the kid said every time he went to school, his car would get randomly vandalized if it wasn't in the parents' garage. His school had made a policy against performance cars being driven by students on school property. The body repair took 4 months. My dad, feeling bad for him, loaned him an '88 Dodge LeBaron beater and told him not to worry about it. If it got vandalized, 4 months. Not to worry about it if it got vandalized. 4 months turned to 6, but his car was returned better than it left, sporting a nice metallic red paint job. And in that time, the LeBaron came back as it left, which my dad thought it was interesting. Fast forward a few years, kid comes back with parents and brand new 350Z with plastic still on the seats, asking for tints and wheels. We asked about how he gets these nice cars, and come to find out that this kid works his ass off in school and earns the cars from his parents. My dad asked about what happened to his last car, and the kid said his older brother was jealous and thought his parents were sidelining him so he would damage the car when nobody was around. He caught on his neighbor's camera throwing a driveway boulder into the back window and jumping on the roof. His parents threw him out and took his yes, that fucker had 2 vehicles, a handy-down AMG Benz and sports bike, which they sold to buy the 350Z. Dude, a sport bike. You're gonna complain about a sports, this Series 7 Chevy Cobalt. It's a bit older, so yeah. But you're gonna be angry because you didn't get a fucking muscle car. But you got a AMG Benz, which is isn't that a German car? I don't know my cars that well. And a sports bike, what? A sports bike is better, way better than like bikes in general. I feel like are way better than, like way more fun than a car. Like, yes, a muscle car would be pretty cool. It's just like, it's just dumb. And I'm a person that doesn't even drive a car, so I'm just picturing someone that does like cars reading this story, and they're just like, what the actual fuck? Or, but worse. Anyways, links will be in the description to my main channel and also the channel that I'm on, that you're on right now, with links to the playlist and the last episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when next video comes out. A ding, ding. Mad Scientist out.